Hello, everybody, and welcome to the WWE Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank post show, um, or NXT Worlds Collide, whatever. That's what was on my head. That's why I messed up on the intro. But welcome to the post show for both Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank. I am your host, Josh. Doing this solo because Rue's in Scotland and it's like 3 in the morning or something over there. Um, so he's off to bed, so I'm doing this solo. Um, the post shows I probably always will do solo since usually like these are late and it's even later over there in like Scotland. Um, but yeah, we are here with Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank. It's I'm probably going to get these through these pretty quickly. I'm actually doing these the night of, so I have to be quiet. I got a bit of a noise complaint from the people downstairs after the end of Money in the Bank, which we'll get into in a little bit, and it's also really hot in my room, so yeah, I got to turn the AC on or open the window or something. But let's get straight into it. Before we get into that, a little bit of self promo. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. Hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, and interviews that come to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the Ko-Fi page. Go check out the exclusive wrestling content tier over there. It's $5 minimum. I posted my um, WrestleMania 42 fantasy card on there. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. I will have more content coming over there. Um, so yeah, go ahead and check that out. But yeah, let's get straight into these. We're gonna start with the Worlds Collide review. So Worlds Collide started at 3 o'clock, and this was like in total it's like 7.5 hours of wrestling, which is insane. Um, and like I don't think it should have been 7.5 hours. I think there was some stuff thrown in here that we could have done without, but it is what it is. The cards as a whole weren't that big anyway, and we still managed to be 7.5 hours. So, um, but yeah, we started off Worlds Collided with a six-man tag team match. Octagon Junior, Mister Iguana, and Aerostar defeating the LWO, Cruz del Toro, Lince Dorado, and Dragon Lee. Uh, Pretty fun match. The highlight of this match for me was Mister Iguana with his like I forgot what he called his like iguana puppet or whatever, but that was definitely the highlight of it. And like Lince Dorado doing a Spanish fly onto it and like all that stuff. So I found that pretty funny. That definitely popped me a little bit. Um, yeah, fun stuff here. Not much else to talk about. It was just a good match. Um, yeah, and I did pick the AAA guys to win this, so I kind of saw that coming. Next, we had the tag team match between Stephanie Vaquer and Lola Vice, defeating Delise and Chick Tormenta. This match was okay. It wasn't the best match, and I kind of expected more from it, but it was fine for what it was. I guess maybe they were. It's possible they were just conserving Stephanie's energy for Money in the Bank later. The match that happened on later. Uh, this was my first time seeing Delise and Chick Tormenta wrestle because I've never watched any AAA stuff. So yeah, this was interesting. Um, but nothing too crazy happened here. Then we moved on to the another six-man tag team match. Legado del Fantasma, Santos Escobar, Berto, and Angel defeating El Hijo, Dr. Wagner Jr., Pagno, and Psycho Clown. This was a pretty good match as well. Not as entertaining as the first six-man tag team match. Um, I kind of enjoyed the opening one a little more. Um, Legato came out in like this army style gear, which was looked pretty cool. But this wasn't a bad match at all. That's not what I'm trying to say. It was solid. It was good. All six of these guys performed well. Santos picked up the pin, and this could end up with him challenging Vikingo. Spoiler alert, because Vikingo beat Chad Gable later on. This could end up with him challenging for Kingo for the AAA Mega Championship. Maybe he wins that, maybe he doesn't. Berto and Angel have their tag team match, which they could probably end up winning. Uh, so yeah, they definitely could end up winning that, and maybe the whole of Legato ends up with gold. I didn't think that they were gonna win this match because there's been a lot of like tension between the three, especially when it came to Berto, but they seem to be fine here. And yeah, maybe they'll all be dripped in gold, AAA gold. After that, we moved on to the Fatal Four Way match for the NXT North American Championship. Ethan Page defeating Javon Evans, Laredo Kid, and Ray Phoenix. I believe he pinned Laredo Kid. So this was fun. One of the highlights for me for this match was actually before the match started, and like this was like a great match. This was probably the I want to say match of the night, but the main event was also pretty solid. Um, but it was when they were doing the introductions, and the crowd was obviously booing Ethan Page because he's a heel, and they love the other three. And as Ethan was getting introduced, and Ethan was holding up the title, the crowd was booing him, and obviously knowing he's gonna win, he's like, "Oh, you guys are gonna hate this," and I'm like, that was kind of hilarious. I like Ethan Page even more now. So yeah, I found that funny, and the match itself was great. I even put out a tweet and Instagram post just saying what a match, because this was great. All four guys performed really really well, and all four of them are very talented. So uh, kudos to these four. I don't think Sean Legacy is going to beat Ethan Page on NXT. I think Ethan Page is going to keep this a little while longer. I don't know who ends up beating him for it. It could just end up being Javon Evans in the end of it, but yeah, we'll have to see when we get there. Uh, we have then with the main event. We had the AAA Mega Championship match. El Hijo del Kingo defeating Chad Gable to retain the title. Uh, Great match here, but I mean, as expected, it's for Kingo and Chad Gable. On the predictions podcast, me and Rue expected a lot from this match, and Rue even said it could be a potential match of the year candidate. I didn't put it down on match of the year candidate after this happened, but that doesn't take away from what this match produced. This was really good. They had a few moments that popped me, like the Mexican Destroyer on the apron. Um, and yeah, all around great match from these two. These two are very talented. Uh, so yeah, that's the Worlds Collide side of things. Money in the Bank, we had a useless hour and a half pre-show, and yeah, because for some reason we had to go back and see 2021 Money in the Bank and so on and so forth, and all that stuff. So, but 7 o'clock comes around and we open with the women's Money in the Bank ladder match between Stephanie Vecchia, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Julia, Roxanne Perez, and the winner Naomi. Now, I didn't have Naomi on the bottom of my list, but she wasn't the first or second. If anything, she might have been third. Um, because I assumed Rhea or Vecchia would have won this. That's who I had on my predictions. And I did stick with that. There was like as we got into it, there was a feeling that I had. I'm like, Naomi could, especially after the announcements of the King and Queen of the Ring tournament, and they've really only pushed Jade Cargill and Charlotte Flair for that tournament so far. And so it really got me thinking, like, okay, maybe Naomi could win this. So she ends up winning. Uh, she's more than likely going to cash in on Tiffany Stratton. I don't know when that'll be, but this could end up being Jade winning Queen of the Ring, and we get Jade versus Naomi again at like SummerSlam or something for the title. I don't know who, like, even if Naomi were to cash in on Tiffany Stratton, which is more likely than her cashing in on Io because I think Rhea is still going to challenge Io, whether that be at Evolution or SummerSlam. Um, I think that I don't know who could take out Tiffany Stratton and leave her in that vulnerable position. The only person coming to mind is Nia Jax, but we just finished that feud, unless for some reason just she attacks her again for no reason. So yeah, I don't know who would leave her in that vulnerable state. I mean, at the end of the day, it could just end up being anybody. But yeah, Naomi is Miss Money in the Bank for 2025. This the match as a whole was okay. It was more of a one time watch thing. It's not something I'd go back and watch. We had a couple cool spots where it's like we had the Stephanie Vaquer doing the Devil's Kiss to Rhea on a ladder. That was pretty cool. There was a few spots where I felt like they could have done more, but at the end of the day, I don't want anybody to get hurt. So there's that. Um, we then moved on to the men's intercontinental championship match. Dominic Mysterio defeating Octagon Jr. To retain. Fine enough match. Not much else to say about it. Um, this came about on Worlds Collide when uh, Octagon Jr. and Dominic Mysterio got into it after Octagon's 6-man match. And then Dominic was like, I'll see you at Money in the Bank and I'll even put my title on the line. So, yeah, we had that. Yeah, fun enough match. This was just a match. It was there was obviously not really any build to it. So yeah, we then went on to the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. Becky Lynch defeating Lyra Valkyria not retain, to win the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Um, as expected, Becky Lynch winning. She was my pick to win this. I thought, this could have been done at Backlash. I figured that this was the route that they were gonna go, especially after Lyra retained that Backlash. Because as I said before, apparently you can't win on the first try in WWE. Um, but yeah, they had Becky Lynch win by grabbing the tights, so Lyra, even at loss, doesn't look completely weak. Like Lyra's beaten Becky, I think twice, maybe more. Um, and so it's like uh, Becky just stole one over Lyra. Then they had the stipulation where if Becky won, there's like a dog just like going insane outside. Um, yeah, only in this neighborhood. Um, happens in other neighborhoods too, um, but yeah, so they had the stipulation where Lyra had to raise Becky's hand, and she kept pushing it, like, "Oh, you have to raise my hand for all four sides of the ring." Um, Lyra eventually just got tired and German suplexed her and hit her with the Nightwing, I believe is what she calls her finisher, and then just walked out. I don't think that this is going to lead to another match. I think this is obviously going to lead to Bayley returning. Maybe they do that on Raw. It'll eventually happen. I don't know when the match happens. It could happen at Evolution. It could happen at SummerSlam. It could even happen at Night of Champions. We even have Saturday night's main event in there. Um, and maybe Bayley wins the title. Bayley could win the title and drop it to Roxanne Perez, or Becky could just retain against Bayley, and maybe just I don't know drops to Stephanie Vaquer, maybe even. I could see that happening. But yeah, this match was solid. Not one I'd go back and watch, but it was a good match. That then took us to the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Um, Seth Rollins, LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, Penta, Andrade, and El Grande Americano. Seth Rollins won this match, as expected, but there was a few moments where I didn't think Seth Rollins was going to win. I'm like, oh, they're really going to go with him. There was like two or three times where I thought they were gonna go with El Grande Americano, and I was like getting more annoyed as he got closer. Because I was like, I really hope they don't go this route for him to like cash in on the mega championship or something. I feel like that'd be stupid. And Rue brought that up, like that he could do that if he won the briefcase. And I said it there. I'm like that'd be stupid for them to do. But this match is going on my match of the year candidate. This was a really good match. A lot of cool spots here, a lot of ladders breaking here. Um the main part of the match was where um Seth called out Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. And I'm like, okay, this is they're gonna clear the field. Seth's gonna go up and win. But then Jacob Fatu and JC Mateo come out, and they brawl with Bronson and Breaker, and then Jacob is like looking like he puts out a ladder for Solo, but then Jacob turns on Solo and takes him out and completely clears the field, and I'm like now I'm like okay, I don't know what's going on now. But then Seth eventually goes back in the ring, uh, curb stomps LA Knight, whatever, goes up and grabs the briefcase. Um, so yeah, overall good match, and yeah, definitely on my match of the year candidate. Seth was my pick to win this. If you didn't watch the predictions podcast, um, I feel like that this was just the right person to win this. I mentioned like LA Knight's time was like 2 years ago for them to pull the trigger on that. Um, Andrade was probably at like the bottom of the list. I had no faith in him winning this. Um, Neither did I have faith with Penta. I did bring up the possibility because they like Penta, but I still had him at like the bottom of the list. Solo, I especially knew wouldn't they wouldn't go with Solo. So yeah, they eventually went with Seth. And yeah, I have no idea when he's gonna cash this in. One of my friends was saying that he could cash in on Raw after Jay, fights Gunther or whatever. I don't think he'll do it that soon. I think that they're going to wait. They're gonna have spots where Sammy stops him from cashing in or Punk stops him from cashing in, and he could hold this for quite a while. Like Rue said, it's either gonna be right away or they're going to wait, and I think they're going to wait. Um they're going to drag this out for a little while longer, and have Seth be like, oh, I'll cash in what I want, and he's going to fail a couple times, whatever. um that then took us to the tag team main event match between Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus John Cena and Logan Paul. Cody and Jey Uso win this match. um Obviously this is what everybody's talking about because of what happened, and so we get to a spot, a couple cool spots, like Logan Paul doing a moonsault through the table. There was that. Um, but then we got to John Cena hitting Cody Rhodes with the belt, and um, we have a hooded figure come out and attack John Cena. I'm like, okay, I don't recognize this figure. I really don't know who this could be. Right? It doesn't look like it's Randy Orton. It doesn't look like it's Roman Reigns, and like, why would he be attacking John Cena? Um, it ended up being R-Truth, and I completely popped, and this is where I got the noise complaint because I was like, wow. So yeah, R-Truth is back, and I just read a report that he's coming back as Ron Killings instead of R-Truth. So that's pretty interesting. I wonder if he's still going to have the comedic character or if this is going to be a more serious R-Truth. Um, I guess the chants were just that loud that they had to bring him back. And like, if I was R-Truth, I'd be like, oh, well, you can give me a little more money now. There is the possibility of it being a work, but as I thought about it, because I texted Brew right after, I was like, did we just get worked? Um, but with like Carlito and Valhalla actually being released, I don't think that's something R-Truth would take part in. Um, so yeah, I'm assuming that they heard everybody on every show chanting "We want truth," and they listened to them and um, yeah, brought him back to cost Cena and Logan the match. And yeah, the match in itself was fine. I didn't expect this to be a classic wrestling match. Yeah, that is overall the show was fine. It was fine. There was like a couple things on here that's like, yeah, it is what it is. I won't watch this back again. The only thing I'd probably watch back again is the men's ladder match. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, that is my thoughts on Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank 2025. Let me know what you guys thought of this. Of both shows, 7.5 hours of wrestling. Again, I don't think it should have been 7.5 hours, but it is what it is. This is WWE for you. Um, and if it was an AEW pay per view, this would have just been 7.5 hours of one pay per view. um, but yeah, solid two shows. Like these shows weren't bad. Like I'm not gonna just crap on it, because there's nothing to crap on necessarily. Um, yeah, both shows were fine, and I was fairly entertained throughout both. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank, and yeah, where do you think certain storylines are going to go? Um, I'll be back next week with the headlines of pro wrestling this week, and we'll probably have quite a bit of things to talk about. I'll have Rue on the podcast there with me most likely. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. These podcasts are going to eventually be on Spotify. I just don't know when. But yeah, I will see you guys next week more than likely. And yeah, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, and interviews. Subscribe to the Ko-Fi page. It's $5 minimum. If you plan on buying anything from WWE Shop, go ahead and use my WWE Shop link. Um, yeah, it really will just help me out. And unfortunately, it doesn't give you a discount, but it will help me out if you buy anything from WWE Shop using my link. With that being said, I am Josh. I have been your host on this very, not very late, but this late edition of the post show review. I'm acting like as if this is live, and most people are probably going to see this tomorrow anyway. But yeah, I will see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.